Hey.
Yes, hello there.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's boost that music a little bit, get the energy in.
Yeah, fun. I love the energy here.
Oh, listen to that. Japanese jazz fusion energy.
Yeah, man. I love the new intro. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, how we doing, guys?
Doing good.
Good.
How are you yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited for today. Yeah.
Oh yeah, as my.
As am I.
I'm back, by the way.
Hey, Jan.
Yes, hi.
Yes, welcome back to Happy Hour FM, the happiest hour in all of Groningen. Yeah, if you're listening and if you would like to text us something or ask a question to our guests later on, who we'll introduce in a little bit, feel free to text us at 050-5715-815. Send us a WhatsApp.
Or
DM us on our Instagram. Yes.
Yeah, we've got it.
Yeah. Wait, let me just... What's the name of our... I think it's just Happy Hour FM.
I think so.
Yeah, I believe so.
Just check our Instagram at Happy Hour FM. It's alive and kicking again. We're finally posting news, updates.
We had
Risen from the depths.
Oh, yeah.
We had a post about this interview.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
You better be listening.
I sent it to my friends.
Yes. Well... How about we jump right into it?
How about you do the honors?
How would you give us some more fantasy suitable music?
Oh, yeah. You ruined the surprise already.
Yeah. Like, what was that, man?
It's a little teaser.
Yeah.
In the
riding
world,
the faders, it's okay.
yeah. In the world of Dungeons and Dragons, where imagination reigns supreme and epic adventures unfold at the roll of a dice, it's the passionate players and innovative thinkers who bring this fantasy to life. Today, we'll be hearing from one of those great minds who is at the forefront of bringing the unending creativity of D&D to the public here in Groningen. He's got over a decade of experience writing and singing. He's the frontman of the band Dan and the Middlemen and the head writer for the local Dungeons and Dragons group Pub Heroes. Daniel Devoy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you very much
Thank
for
you for being here.
nice intro.
Yeah, I like to get the intro tight, you know?
Yeah.
Try to introduce the person.
Very concise.
I didn't go into your birth or where you're from and all that. Maybe you can cover that.
There's plenty of time, yeah, we have time for that.
We got time for that.
So yes, how was your birth? Please describe.
Probably quite traumatic, I'd imagine.
For you or for your mom?
Oh, everybody involved, yeah.
So
The whole shebang.
Yeah, Dan, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Not too bad, yeah. It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
Got the call this morning, so going to be coming in hot and fresh.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Unfortunately, we had to swap you in for Sesko, who was your colleague at Pub Heroes.
Yeah, the remaining founding member as well, yeah.
Yeah.
The remaining, how many guys did leave already then?
There was just two, one left for slightly greener pastures.
Oh, right.
Well,
But
speaking
here the pastures are always greener.
Yeah.
I know,
we
yeah.
always have the green pastures here in Groningen.
Yes.
Yeah. So a little bit about yourself. So how did you? So you're from Ireland originally. Yeah. How did you come here to Groningen?
Originally, I moved
By
here...
plane?
By plane. And train and a lot of waiting around. Yeah, my wife was coming here to... Well, she was my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife now. She came here to study psychology in the university. I came here to support her. I finished college a couple of years before that, so I just came over to work. When I moved here, wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. Didn't know whether we were going to just stay for the 2 years of her degree or we were going to stick around afterwards. But here we are now. Things have changed and things have advanced. And
How long has it been since you came?
I moved in 2019.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
Oh, right.
So I got here about 4 months later. Pandemic hits. I spent a year and a half looking at Dutch culture from a distance.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you're still here. So it was clearly impressive enough to keep you around.
Yeah. Plenty of stuff here to do.
Yeah, you've clearly had a lot of opportunity here.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I know you mainly from a band-related side.
Yeah, a surprisingly small world, actually.
Surprisingly, because I've met Dan before because we share a practice room that you...
Yeah. Oh, you're roomies.
We're
Basically,
roomies.
yeah, we're like distant roommates.
Yeah, I don't see you much
Ever.
at all, but I guess you got that place, right? And then you kind of rented out with some other bands, right?
Yeah, I think there's only like 12 people in the whole city who use that room, and somehow we managed to set it up here.
Yeah.
You're the select few.
Yeah.
Yes, very special, very special. But yeah, small world, and I was really surprised to see that you are part of Pub Heroes.
Yep.
Which what can you tell us about Pub Heroes? What is that?
Pub Heroes is a monthly and now bi-monthly. I don't know if that's the correct word. Twice a month.
I do think so. Bi-monthly.
It sounds
like a word.
Sounds like a proper word.
It is a word.
It's an event that we hold in the Forum. It's on the second Friday of every month and then one of the other Fridays of the month now. We haven't decided on a concrete date for the second one.
Yeah.
Probably depends on how many Fridays we have in a month. Yeah, you come, for the price of admission, you get a couple of drinks. You're paired up with some people. They can be strangers. You can also bring your friends with you if you want to. And then you're paired up with the DM as well. And then the DM will take you through an adventure every single time. And the adventures can be anything from like simple things, saving a town from a dragon or something like that, all the way to like pretty out there sort of political intrigue. Sometimes it's a one-off thing where you're one and done and you're finished with the adventure and you go home and that's it. That's the whole story. Sometimes if you come between each session, like if you come multiple sessions in a row, you'll get a little bit out of it. There's a continuous storyline sort of happening that you can catch on to.
Nice.
So you can always just hop back in.
We try to set it up in a way that you can either show up for one and you'll have a fun experience, but if you come to multiple ones, you'll get a little bit more out of it. There might be some Easter eggs and little bits hidden around.
Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Can we just get you a little closer to the
Yes,
mic?
absolutely,
Just a little bit. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Beautiful voice, by the way.
Thanks so much.
That sucker.
Love the accent.
Love it. I do love a good British Isles accent.
That was
Irish and British.
I know. I wanted to.
I will accept that out of a technical correctness.
That was a very brief peak of anxiety.
I know.
by the way.
I just wanted to cover. I was looking at a map in my head, and I wanted to draw a big circle around all of those places there.
It is the correct term. I'll accept
Yeah,
that.
dude, I do believe there's like, you can hear the difference between a Scottish, an English, and an Irish accent.
I love all of those.
Yeah,
Oh, no, definitely. But
Odd comment. I apologize.
So what you
for
were
all
saying,
our
there's
other Irish listeners,
They'll be able to understand me perfectly.
oh yes, everyone is except for our German, Emirati guy in here.
Yeah.
So, but what you were saying, there's a huge difference in the length of sessions. So some can be quite short, and others go on for a few different sessions at a time.
The sessions themselves, the show runs from 7 until 11, and then after that, it can go on a little bit later, but not. We try to have it finished up by 12 o'clock. Some people have a really fun time, sort of what I like to call pressing all the buttons. You know, you introduce something, and all of a sudden they want to just touch it.
Yeah. Right.
Should we maybe go over what D&D actually
I was
is?
going to say.
If you had a bit specific.
Oh yeah.
So let's take
We
a
just
step back.
got straight into it.
So now we have the idea that Pub Heroes is a thing that happens at the Forum in Groningen, which we've mentioned on the show before. The Forum has been a central character, I would say.
It's a thing. I think
tons of
people
stuff.
probably saw it even if we hadn't mentioned it.
No, it's the fourth main host of the show.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but what actually happens in Pub Heroes? What is Dungeons and Dragons?
Yep, so Dungeons & Dragons is a fantasy role-playing game. There's many types of role-playing games. This one is a fantasy one. It's very Tolkien-esque. So if you know anything about Lord of the Rings, you're probably going to be pretty happy playing Dungeons & Dragons. Essentially, it's a game in which someone, the Dungeon Master, creates a story, creates a world, creates a setting, creates all different things, characters, and plays them all out, and then presents these to the players. And the players take on sort of fantasy archetypes. So you can be like a ranger, like Legolas, shooting your bow from a distance. You can be a wizard. You can be a barbarian, and you just smash things to bits with your giant axe.
That's my character.
Yeah, that's everyone's favorite character. And then you essentially go through this story with the Dungeon Master that they've set out for you. And you take on the role of that character. And it can be as silly, kind of going around just trying to get money off of random people and shaking down the local merchants and stuff like that, being a gang of bullies, or it can be really serious and go into dark themes and war and loss and everything like that. You can make it as deep or as whimsical as you want to.
Yeah.
So do you have like a favorite character yourself then?
Favorite character. I have favorite characters that I've made and favorite characters that I've played, and I have a few people that I like that have come to the sessions.
Yeah.
Some people are very, very creative and they really want to they want their character to be the same between each session.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think my favorite character is one that I played in another person's campaign, Quartzed. They were like a dwarf, and essentially what they...
I must say, like with the beard and the long hair,
I can pull it off, right?
if you just ditch the nose piercing, you're pretty much good to go, man.
Or maybe just make it like a big ingot, like a chunky one, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Like a skull hanging off it.
And yeah, exactly. I need to braid this as well, though.
Yeah, you got to braid it for sure.
Dwarfs are awesome.
Yeah.
But he was a headstrong cleric, and in the first arc of the campaign, he got a few of his teammates killed from being too brash. And after that, he put down his weapons and he wielded 2 shields because he would protect people from now on. So it's that kind of stuff. You want it to be cheesy and sort of Pulp Fiction-y and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Pulp fantasy.
So the Dungeon Master is the de facto narrator of the story.
Like de facto narrator. Like it's a political, like you're getting away into political, man.
De facto, yeah. Well,
you're the narrator, and you also take on the system of in a video game when enemies come at you, like you take on that system as well. So you throw enemies at people, you organize the combat encounters, which is the other side of things, which some people really like the role playing, and some people really like the combat, and some people obviously like a mix of the both. I think the combat is where the game gets far more gamey.
Yeah.
It's a lot of numbers and throwing dice and moving little figurines around a board. I think the role playing side of it is actually the thing that really makes it special and what people are really drawn to, because it's so open. You can't. There's no limit to it at all. You know, I've had it a few times where players have gone. Because you have a story and you obviously want them to get through the story. But I've had it a few times where players have come in and they've said, hey, I actually want to go over there and do this other thing. You know, I want to see what explore it, and you kind of just have to let them go for it, you know? And if they don't get to the end of the session, well, who cares? They had a good time.
And who comes up with the story? So the Dungeon Master is the narrator, but are they the ones who come up with the storyline, or
you can write it yourself. There's also loads of people have written like pre-written adventures that are probably very well thought out. Especially if you're a first-time player, it's a great way to get into it. And then in Pub Heroes, one of us writes it. I've sort of taken over the role of sort of the module writer for now. But everyone obviously contributes, and we have like meetings at the start of each arc to kind of go over what the themes are going to be for that season. We're trying out a new format at the moment where the first half of the year, because there's more sessions, so from February until June, I think, there's a more overarching story. So if you come, you'll get a little bit more out of it. And then at the second half, I think from September to December, the last 4 months of the year, we have more sort of like whimsical once-offs. So we'll have like a Christmas themed one and a Halloween themed one and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wanted to step back because the way you were describing D&D, it's very vivid, right? It feels that you can visualize, like Lord of the Rings or something, right? Like battles and orcs and whatever. But in reality, it's very much up to imagination, right?
Absolutely.
Your own imagination carries the way you enjoy and play the game. I was wondering, how would, let's say, new players who have maybe never played such an imaginary game, right? There's not too much, you don't always have a board that you move a player around or something. Do you think that there's a kind of a learning curve for new players to overcome playing with your own imagination?
It depends probably on the person. I've run into people who have had that sort of difficulty where they need especially if you come from, I've seen it if you come from a video game playing background, a lot of the time you don't realize just how open the system is. So it's not about like, well, there's a door, so I have to go through the door. It's like, you don't. You can go back the way you came. You can leave this town, let the dragon eat them. Who cares? Like it's your adventure. So I think it's just understanding the scope and the breadth of what you can actually achieve in the game is what really kind of is the first learning curve. And then the next thing I think is just coming up with compelling characters for yourself and a character that you want to play over and over again.
Yeah. So as kind of a main writer for Pub Heroes, how do you write for this? What is the strategy for writing something that can be very improvised and change drastically?
Yeah, it's like I'm still learning, honestly. One of the tricks I learned early on is to not give players not to hinge the entire session on a single choice, let's say, because players are not going to make the choice that you want to make.
Yeah,
you have to kind of impose a force upon them that is going to affect them whether they do something or not. Yeah. But if they don't do something, it'll be worse for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to keep that in mind, and you also have to keep a lot of other things in mind, like just the length and the enjoyment, and also each character has a very different set of skills. Like I said, like the barbarian, he likes to smash things.
Yeah.
But if you're in a campaign where there's not a lot of smashing to do, you end up just standing there for a lot of the time, doing nothing or kind of looking menacing in the background. And there has to be a diversity of sort of gameplay mechanics in each session as well, so that everybody gets something out of it.
Lovely, yeah.
For new players, is it also a hurdle, or maybe I should pose the question differently, is 100% immersion all the time, like you're speaking as your character, also a necessity, or is that like completely depends on just what your group is cool with?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd never try to force someone into like overly role playing, and it can be very intimidating, especially if you're with strangers in the forum and there's other people just looking at you. You get 3 drinks with your price of admission. You could drink those 3 drinks immediately and try to get into it if you wanted to. But we don't encourage that.
You have to warm yourself up.
Yeah. But no, if. Like the thing is, some people like to sit there and say, "I swing my mighty axe," you know, and they go for it. And some people just explain what they want to do. Some people don't even speak as their characters when the character is speaking. They just say, "My character says that they want to do this."
Okay, I see.
Right.
You know,
and everything goes.
Everything goes as long as you're comfortable. It's way more important that you're comfortable and you're engaging with the story itself. Yeah. And I find that a lot of people, after a couple of sessions, they do tend to start speaking up, and then it just takes a little while to kind of get the ball rolling.
People like to have that sort of immersive fun eventually.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Dip their toe in, as to say.
Makes sense, yeah.
And I try to be as goofy as possible when I DM as well to kind of loosen people up.
Good, yeah. I can imagine that helps them be like, oh, this guy's having fun.
Yeah, this guy doesn't care. He's doing a really bad Scottish accent for the 13th time in a row.
I want to say, I think it's really impressive that Pub Heroes does this whole, I mean, it's building a community in a way, getting all these people together. And I just want to take a step back. So how did Pub Heroes begin as an idea?
I believe it was Sesko and the other member that I mentioned, Menno. They, I'm not quite sure what their motivation behind it was. They just played for so long and they wanted to try and see if they could achieve something like this. Sesko will probably give you a better answer than I'm giving right now, but I can tell you it was just purely out of just love of the game and the potential that they saw in the game as like you said, a way to build community and to kind of bring people together and stuff like this. It's a very communal, very just a very communal game.
Speaking of community building, do you guys have regulars at this point who always show up to the sessions, or is it always new people all the time?
No, and it's becoming more and more because the tickets are selling out so fast. It's only the people who like keep track of when it's going to go on sale that can really show up.
Okay.
I think this month's session, the one that just went by on Friday, that sold out within 3 hours, while the previous while the previous month's session was still at the table. So it went on sale that night, and before we had actually finished playing the previous month's session, that session had sold out.
Wow!
So how can people enlist?
For the army, for the D&D.
You can get it through the forum, and we also have our own website, pubheroes.nl.
So how much was the admission then again?
I think I haven't paid for it in a while. I think it's gone up to 20 now.
Nice. Yeah.
But it's a pretty good deal. It's 4 hours of fun and entertainment, 3 drinks, and
it's very catered fun. I think it's absolutely worth the price, and the drinks. I mean, that's great. What was I going to ask? I forgot.
I was just thinking, going forward. Sorry, did you catch your thought?
I did catch my thought. Yeah.
Okay, you can go for it.
Sure. I was wondering because now you have all these great things at the forum that are selling out really nicely. But how did it get to the forum? Was that the first from the get-go that Pub Heroes had a slot in the forum?
The forum wasn't there in 2019, so...
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I remember when they were building it.
What did Pub Heroes do in the beginning? Where did
I believe they did a couple of test runs in some different places around. I don't know the names of them though, unfortunately. It was just before I joined.
Sure.
And I think I joined in session 4 or something. And then there was a couple of breaks from lockdowns and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. That actually kind of ties into the... what I was thinking was going to ask when I thought you lost your thought.
Wait, what?
Are you guys thinking of growing this, like maybe getting your own club where you do these things?
I mean, that would be
space.
amazing. I kind of want to do it in an actual pub.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. And I want to hire people to wear the garb, the tavern garb, and serve people drinks.
Oh, man.
That's my dream.
That sounds so fun. Yeah.
That would be amazing. Maybe for some sort of like premium night thing or something, that would be a cool thing to do where everyone really dresses up and gives it socks. But we'd love to expand. We're trying to expand now. We're trying to expand to different cities as well. We're looking at Zwolle and Assa.
Nice.
There are other people as well who do things like this, like Mythomakers. If you guys don't live in Groningen, you can check out Mythomakers.
Okay.
I think the big thing for us at the moment is all of our DMs are volunteers. So they volunteer their time. We're insanely grateful to them. They're the best group of people you'll ever meet. But they, I mean, obviously you're asking people to give up a Friday night, first of all, which is a big deal. So one of our biggest problems with expansion is just getting more people to join us as DMs to actually volunteer their time, which you can do if you're listening. You can check us, you can just message us on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. I think we also have a contact form on our website, and just say, hey, I've been playing for X amount of time and I'd really like to get involved, and we'll just give you a message, and we usually do a small like intake interview just to kind of gauge sort of what level of playing they're at.
Oh yeah, or if you like want to do that, you can also like give us a text and then we'll redirect the message.
Yeah,
we will.
Yeah,
and you can reach out to us now as well on Insta as well, because we have got it. Finally.
I'll just give out my personal phone number right now on the air.
And your street address and your parents, where they live.
PSN number.
The PSN number. Yeah. So about getting DMs, how do you find these people who want to DM?
A lot of them at the moment are friends or friends of friends. People bring buddies, which is nice. We do occasionally put out to the world, if you're interested. We also, in April, if you check our website, we have a DM crash course coming up.
I saw that. It's very interesting, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Again, Sesko would know a little bit more about this. He's the one running the show on that, but it's essentially... It's just a crash course in how, especially we run D&D, because we have a very specific way of doing it.
Wait, so how does your way differ from others then, if you have a different style?
We just have to be a little bit more pushy, basically. We're trying to keep the game on track, on rails, more so than a DM would. So in a home game, I'd be more than happy for people to spend 10 hours just talking to one NPC and having fun with that guy. But it's just about knowing how to work the table to make sure that people are kind of getting on and not idling on stuff that doesn't matter.
Like a good experience wrapped up,
Yeah, exactly. Like, sometimes it happens where you don't have time to finish, and that's totally fine. And usually the players know halfway through, like, okay, we've been pissing around for a while now. We're not going to get this done. But yeah, that's just mainly it. It's mainly just sort of how to do that. So in the DM course, you'll learn that, and then learn a bit more about also just probably Sesko's style of DMing.
Sure.
At the end of it, you do a little test, and you can get your score. And if you pass the test, you can kind of qualify for a DM position if you want to apply for it afterwards.
Cool.
But it's an invaluable course nonetheless, just for people who are thinking about running their own games. Maybe if you've come to Pub Heroes a couple of times and you say, like, I'd really like to know how they do that, this is the perfect chance for it.
Nice.
Oh yeah. So how long is that a course?
It's just one day. It's just a day's crash course.
That's cool.
Oh, okay. Before, our target audience, and I hope all of our lovely listeners love you, are students. So if there's like another full course 7 weeks with an exam,
a whole bachelor's to the side.
I don't want to go to the library for this one.
I believe it's like a Saturday afternoon or something.
Yeah, a couple hours.
But you'll find all the details on our website.
Lovely. I was thinking
and on the forum website.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing it.
Yeah.
Because myself, I've played D&D a couple times with some friends where they've DM'd, or it was something like that. And then I've dabbled a little bit in writing, and I was like, I should DM, but then it never got together just because maybe I didn't get over a certain hurdle of learning mechanics or something,
I wouldn't let that bother you.
Yeah,
the first
that's
2
what
years,
I think. Yeah.
First 2 years of us playing was bad. We didn't know any of the bloody rules.
Yeah.
I still don't know half the rules. I'm not going to lie. Actually, maybe I should lie. It's not.
You're
a
the
problem.
expert.
You're an expert.
Yeah.
You know everything.
I'm an expert in looking it up in the book if I need to.
Yes, that makes me wonder. What do you think it takes to be a DM? A good DM.
Honestly, just the will to do it. Just
okay.
Then legitimately, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Run a pre-written adventure module if you don't feel like, because it is a lot of work to do, like coming up with the stuff, and then also combat encounters for a new player will be very difficult.
Okay.
If you make them too easy, people get bored. Make them too difficult, you end up having to pretend like creatures miss all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. That's actually interesting what you say about the mechanics and stuff, because building a story then has to be advised by whatever mechanics are actually in the game. So if you're writing a certain story and you want there to be a certain monster that the players encounter, you have to make sure that there's actually rules set in the game that allow them to defeat that monster. I guess,
absolutely. Every monster in the book is, you can beat them, but it's more about why is this monster here?
Right.
Like if the players walk into a forest and they find a grick, it's like, but gricks live underground, you know. And some players, players don't know that.
Could you be completely out there and like have time travel in your adventure, stuff like that, or is that outside of the rule book? So
you can absolutely do time travel. I did time travel for my first home written campaign, and it was the biggest nightmare I've ever been through in my entire life.
So that would be man. Like the multiverse as they have in Marvel, that would be
Start with the multiverse,
Multiverse is easier because there is a multiverse in D&D.
Oh, sure.
The official setting is a multiverse.
Okay.
Its time travel is annoying because your players will pick up on every little plot hole that you put in there, and they're going to be like, how come this didn't happen this way, and how come this didn't happen because of this thing?
If this
and you
happened, this should happen. Yeah,
you have to come up with all these answers. So don't do time travel.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Stick to the basics.
Yeah.
There's a goblin camp and they're attacking this town and they want you to get rid of them. All that kind of stuff.
If I were DMing, I would just make it a really convoluted reenactment of Braveheart and try not to let people find out.
Yeah. Well, how much of like DMing is about, or how much of DMing is practicing something or like executing something that you've practiced or rehearsing or just improvising?
It's a hard one to answer. I find the improvisation comes in how I get players where I want them to go.
Yeah.
So I usually have an idea of a combat encounter at the end of a session, and I have an idea of sort of the factions, let's say, that are involved in this combat encounter, and I want ways for the players to learn information about those two factors. I cannot tell how the players are going to go about that. So I have to improvise that stuff. And that's what I was talking about keeping people on track.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like being able to put things in players' ways without them knowing that I just made that up off the top of my head in this moment.
Yeah. Well,
the entire fake it till you make it, just like we make this show.
Yeah.
Fully faked.
Absolutely.
Fully made. How about we take a quick little break?
Yeah, let's listen to some music.
Yeah, how about we listen to you brought a song,
Critical Hit.
Critical Hit.
No More Kings.
Very
I think it sums it up pretty well.
A critical hit in D&D is when you roll a 20, right?
20 on the dice, yeah.
20 on the dice. We'll be back with more Happy Hour FM and Daniel Devoy on this interview.
Right
about
after
Pub Heroes.
these messages.
Yeah. See ya.
You know our stats are gold and we're ready to roll. Traveling pairs, sling it downstairs, but there's something waiting for us. We make a battle attack, we fight back to back. We're gonna have to stack a little slash and hack. They keep on dissing me, but no dexterity. Wait until they hear the chorus. Sooner or later, the dice land on the table. You know that's what fables are made of. Everybody sing, oh yeah, it's a critical hit. My main man and double damage with it. Everybody sing, oh yeah, it's a critical hit. This is a critical hit. My main man and double damage with it. Oh yeah, it's a critical hit. My main man and double damage with it. Everybody sing, oh yeah, it's a critical hit. It's a critical hit. Now it's wall to wall, watch your foes are falling, but it's time to pause, cause Mother Nature's calling. I'll be back in a second and I'll continue the reckoning. They will still be waiting for us, and the pressure grows to make a save and throw, to introduce some move, we turn the lights down low. My armor's exposed, I'm getting full of holes. Think I need another chorus. Sooner or later, the dice land on the table. You know that's what fables are made of. Everybody sing, oh yeah, it's a critical hit. My main man and double damage with it. Everybody sing, oh yeah, it's a critical hit. This is a critical hit. My main man and double damage with it. Oh yeah, it's a critical hit. My main man and double damage with it. Everybody sing, oh yeah, it's a critical hit. It's critical hit.
Bada bing, bada boom. Cool song.
Bada bing, bada boom.
I don't know, man.
Welcome back to Happy Hour
It's
FM.
radio transitions, you know.
We're here with Daniel Devoy from Pub Heroes and Dan and the Middlemen. I gotta plug your band because it's really cool.
Yeah, I love the name, by the way.
like it.
First of all,
In your
Yeah.
rehearsal space, neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The name is great because it's you and other guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they've specifically come after me in the name, which is nice as well.
Yeah. First you and then other guys.
And the middleman. Yeah.
And the
Some other guys,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I started the band as a solo project.
Yes. Yeah.
The name was supposed to be ironic.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's even. Okay, I don't know which one's better, but brilliant. Good name overall.
I like it, yeah.
Oh well, that's like amazing in the way of improvising.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, by the way, I've got a band and it's named after me. Oh cool. So who else is in the band so far? Yeah, so far nobody.
Yeah, the middleman, you know,
Just
whoever.
make 'em up. Yeah.
Yeah, just someone you don't know.
Yeah.
We're about to replace them anyway.
Well, so we're here with Daniel Devoy. If you have a question for Dan, anything D&D related, music related, writing related, please message us on our Insta at Happy Hour FM or at 050-571-5815.
Wait, is that our official Insta name?
Happy
now?
Hour FM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's
cool.
pretty simple, which is good.
Yes. Love it.
Dan, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Halfway through the show.
Yeah, feeling good.
Feeling good.
Yeah, feeling hype.
Great. We're going to ask you about writing.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully I can answer these questions.
First question,
That's my job.
icebreaker. What's your favorite writing implement?
I actually kind of like just speaking into a microphone and getting my thoughts down like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's creative, actually.
I used to write a lot when I was in school,
Yeah.
and then 10 years of just doing music got me out of the habit of physically writing stuff down.
Okay.
But I do vocalize a lot of the stuff that I do, so I like to write
sense.
down. But when it comes time to crunch, I use a keyboard. I can't remember the last time I wrote with a pencil. Maybe a pen on my wedding day to sign my name.
But then, so if you make like voice messages and you want to, I guess you listen back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And if, let's say for writing a campaign or something, or a scenario for a game at Pub Heroes or something, I guess then, do you have to write that down then, or?
Yeah, it has to be pretty legible, especially for other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, once it comes time to, that's probably the thing that takes me the longest, is actually sorting it out into a way that other people can read. Because I can prep a D&D session for my own campaign in 20 minutes. I just open the book, look for some monsters, write their stat blocks down, and then just I'm on my way to go. But actually having to explain step by
ChatGPT
step.
version.
Yeah, the ChatGPT version where you just make campaign.
Yeah.
Running a
D&D
ChatGPT campaign would be pretty fun, actually.
Just
Has anyone
what
tried
garbage
that?
it throws at you.
Yeah, whatever happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'd have to put in the player responses each time, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A bit of time. But I guess, okay, so next question, I guess, relates a bit to your creative side in general, but how did you kind of get into writing?
I didn't really get into writing. I just sort of, I wrote music and stuff. I always wrote lyrics, and I love the craft of songwriting. But when it came to writing for fantasy and stuff like this, it was really just, I liked doing it, and I was the only person in my group of friends who kind of wanted to kind of run games. I kind of came from it more of as a performer. I still see DMing as a performance, you know.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes I call it the show rather than the session. You know,
Yeah,
the show is on Fridays. But yeah, it's for me. Yeah, I always try to think of it from the player's point of view. So when I'm writing it, again, I don't really do a lot of conventional writing, so I can't really tell you much. I can tell you about how I link together characters and arcs and stuff like that. But in terms of how to put a novel together, it wouldn't be much help for you.
It's interesting though, yeah. I didn't expect that it was kind of just nuanced style. That's great.
And it's pretty much just practice as well, just from doing it for so long. I started off with just small ideas for little sessions, and then they've become small arcs, and then those arcs would become entire campaigns. And then you realize, oh my god, I really want the characters in my campaign to have satisfying arcs where they change as players and stuff like this. So I definitely went and I started looking up a lot about narrative design and ludonarrative design as well, which is sort of blending gameplay and narrative mechanics together. But yeah, in terms of conventional writing, I basically have zero experience.
Fantastic. Love to hear.
So it's a completely different animal than writing for...
Maybe not. Maybe I should sit down with a typewriter one day and see what happens.
Maybe a typewriter though.
Yeah.
Are there any aspects of a storyline that you find very important, purely narratively, maybe not even so much connected to the game, or maybe for you it all comes back to the game?
For me, it's the low points. I think especially in games, people tend to have an idea that they want to kind of win and beat the dungeon master. And I feel like really good players and really good DMs, they introduce these points of like these low points where people feel defeated and they feel like they might, and it's kind of the classic like all is hope moment in the arc, you know, right before Act 3, and then you kind of come back. But I really like those moments because they come up a lot more often in D&D, because D&D can't really have a perfect like 3-act structure. And
Sure.
And there's other systems as well which really encourage it. Like there's another role-playing system called 10 Candles. And at the end of each session, all the players die. It's set in a post-apocalyptic world. You're going to die anyway, so it's up to you to make a great story out of it. And I think playing that changed the way that I play role-playing games.
That's
completely.
Oh wow, that is really cool.
Yeah, it was
that
fantastic.
sounds so philosophical.
Does,
it's life. You're not getting out alive anyway.
Yeah.
Like, just to point out, Happy Hour FM, the most depressing.
The happiest hour.
You're gonna die. Make the most of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pretty
Because
much.
D&D is a collaborative game, you know. It's a collaborative storytelling experience. So when you're playing, if just giving yourself the best outcome each time as a character isn't going to make the story better, I advise not doing it. And the same with the DMs. You want your players to feel like they've earned a reward, and to do that, they have to go through struggles, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, sometimes you can play a heroic campaign, a super heroic campaign where the players just bam, 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 and they defeat everybody in a row, and they just feel super great, and that's the kind of game they want to play.
Yeah.
And other people, like, they really get a lot out of, how does my character deal with this problem, this internal problem, or this inadequacy that I have, or something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there actually PvP in Dungeons and Dragons?
Kind of depends on the DM, but I mean, all the
For
rules for hitting
listeners,
something.
like, just quickly explain PvP.
It just means player versus player. So instead of encountering a game mechanic, or like an obstacle
or
in
something.
the game, you're
like-
fighting another player.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all the rules for hitting another person are there. You can roll the dice, and it's kind of up to your DM to decide whether to allow it.
I see.
And don't hit them physically in the room.
Again, whatever kind of game you guys play, it's up to you.
Extreme D&D.
I'm not going to judge anybody's way of playing the game.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask. So you mentioned 10 Candles, and also before you mentioned Lord of the Rings as a general inspo for D&D. But I was wondering, for being eager to write for fantasy stuff, is there some sort of piece of media or something that you think is like the catalyst for you that brought you into this type of fantasy?
It was definitely Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings,
yeah. I think it is for a lot of people, and it's totally fine. I mean, so much of D&D is just ripped straight from Tolkien's work.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
to the point where in the first edition, I think they actually call there's a race in the game called halflings.
Yeah.
They originally called them hobbits.
Oh, okay.
Because he was just like, I'm just taking it from D&D, and then I think there was a lawsuit and stuff like that.
The
So
Tolkien estate or something. Yeah.
oh yeah, definitely. They got on that.
Lawyers weren't so fun.
Yeah, lawyers, man.
So, like, do you think then in a few years that maybe the entire Game of Thrones stuff will like make their entrance in the D&D world?
I think it already has. There is actually a Game of Thrones role-playing book that you can buy.
Okay.
It's a different system from D&D, and it has rules for like making your own houses and your own banners and stuff like that, which is obviously a big part of Game of Thrones. And you can even see it in like there's a thing called Real Plays, which like people stream their games on Twitch. I think the most famous one is Critical Role.
Critical Role, yeah.
And then Dimension 20. And you can even see in them, like, some people have these super whimsical campaigns, some people have these very dark campaigns where really messed up stuff happens. You can definitely see the influence of like dark fantasy media coming in now. And I mean, you can go anywhere with role playing. Like there's Warhammer 40k role playing systems. Vampire the Masquerade is one of my favorite. That's set in the modern day where you play as a vampire.
Yeah.
And that gets really dark really fast.
Sure.
Because you're playing as the monster essentially. Like when we played in my home game, we wanted to kidnap in the game. We wanted to kidnap a local police sergeant.
Oh yeah.
So we
Love the way
googled
you
who the
just
actual.
need to add there, like in the game, by the way.
in the game. Well, we googled his actual name, like the real police sergeant in the area that we lived in, and we used him as a character in our game.
Oh.
We were thinking about even tweeting at him and being like, "Hey, in our game, you're like our vampire mind slave. Just want to let you know." But it might have been a bit weird.
You're a vampire mind slave.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good actually. Yeah, we stayed in his house.
Indeed.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Wow, yeah. So there's a lot of diverse ways to play role-playing games. D&D is just one of the many types.
Yeah, and D&D is one of the we call it crunchier. It's the more in-depth mechanically games. For people who are really into the role-playing side of things, there are really great options out there. I really recommend people go looking them up. 10 Candles is one. Blades in the Dark is another one. Systems where the rules are trying to get out of your way more so than in D&D.
Okay.
Do you stick mostly to board gaming or also role playing in video games?
Myself?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I play video games as well. I'm just getting stuck into Baldur's Gate 3 actually.
Of course,
which is essentially Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
If you've played Baldur's Gate 3, you have played D&D 5th edition.
Yeah, right. I remember played it a little bit. I didn't get too far, but from what I learned about D&D 5th edition, it was very similar. I was surprised just how similar,
Yeah, it's essentially the same system.
It is the same system.
They made a couple of tweaks, I think, very minor things, just to make it more fun as a
video game. Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, and I think as well, that's the one thing, like Disco Elysium, I don't know if you had any.
I know that one, yeah.
That,
also really good.
That game is the closest I think I've ever seen to someone capturing a D&D game where the amount of choices and how those choices just expand upon each other. I think Baldur's Gate is similar as well. I just haven't gotten as far into it. So.
That's it's really impressive to try and capture choice that is truly like free choice,
meaningful choice.
That is difficult because there's a lot of options.
And there is still constraints. Like if,
of course,
at the start of Baldur's Gate, if you really just wanted to become a mind flayer, you could have just left in the opposite direction and said, "Screw this" to all the other people. You know? There is an intrinsic. Sort of what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? There's an intrinsic assumption that you want to complete the main quest in Baldur's Gate,
right.
But in D&D, not necessarily.
True, you do what you want.
Do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's completely sandbox.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, like, as a DM, do you ever feel like whenever people are just wandering off the main story, are like, dude, just keep your focus. Yeah, we're going somewhere, and you just keep wandering off, man.
To add on to that, I was going to ask about murder hobos. Like, this thing, which
that sounds so weird. If you do not know context.
It's exactly that where they go rogue, right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with players who go rogue?
That would be me.
There's a couple of ways. It depends on the person and what they value in the game. At the table in Pub Heroes especially, if one person's being kind of disruptive, because that can be disruptive if everyone else wants to follow along and do the story.
Then it's funny. Then it's cool. Like, okay, let's go crazy or something.
Yeah, if everyone else wants to do what they're doing, then just let them. And if they don't get to the end of the story, well, like,
whatever.
Yeah, we got your money. If it's just one person at the table and everyone else isn't really into it, then you kind of have to say like, oh, I don't know. Maybe we should talk about this. It's never really happened at my home game because we're all really good friends. So, but at the table in Pub Heroes, I've never had a problem. Usually what I do is I come up with a very good reason in-game why they shouldn't. So like, I'm going to beat up this random person. It's like, well, there's 30 town guards looking at you.
You're dead if you do that.
Yeah, you can do it if you want, but they're going to shoot you and kill you and stab you. And
the power of a good DM then to just rope them in without telling them like no.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And you can kind of get them with their own choices. Like if someone's like, oh, I know that there's 30 guards, I'm going to do it anyway. It's like, okay.
Sure.
Roll initiative. We're going to do the fight. 30 guards against you.
Yeah, fair enough. Back to writing for Pub Heroes, I wanted to ask, so how often are you working on a new story?
We have a new story once a month. So whenever we have 2 sessions per month, it's going to be the same story in each session per month. So don't come to both in 1 month unless you really like it and you want to just
do it again.
So once a month, it's usually about... it usually takes me about 2 days to write the full session. That includes making all the maps and getting all the character, like the monster stat blocks together, and then formatting it and making sure that people can read it, and then getting some feedback and stuff like that. Cool. With the overarching sessions where we have a more kind of like a continuous story, we do meet up and we kind of go over the themes and the general layout of how it's going to go for that season, and we do that as a group thing. Yeah.
What sort of resources are like invaluable to you as someone who's creating stories?
When you're starting out, I think YouTube is your friend. And I think even just watching the game being played, you could probably get more info about how to actually play a game of D&D from watching one episode of Critical Role than to read the entire player's handbook.
Okay, because you see it in action.
You see it in action, and you realize that so little of the rules are used per session and stuff like that.
You don't need to know every detail on like falling or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely not until it comes up, and then you just reference it. You know, that's the main thing.
Sure.
In terms of writing and trying to come up with ideas, there's so many things on YouTube where people talk about just narrative structure, and I really think you can get into that in a big way. You do have to let go of a little bit of control when it comes to D&D, because obviously your players are unpredictable and they'll do all kinds of crazy stuff. But you just have to understanding how stories work is a great way to start. So understanding the 3-act structure, understanding the idea of like the hero's journey and other different like very popular arcs within writing is a good way to start.
Popular archetypes as well, I suppose.
And starting with fantasy archetypes. And at the start, you should try to be very over-the-top fantasy with it. You know, like everyone is just a jolly, elven, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And then get into the deeper stuff later. I also recommend like trying to be as like grounded as possible. So we did a season where we were dealing with war. So there was a war going on. That was the overarching story. But the war was kind of in the background. And every session you would deal with a kind of an unseen aftermath of the war. So like one of the sides was using demons to fight for them.
As you do.
As you do. It's a good tactic. It's very effective.
Strong.
Very strong. And they left a portal open at one of these places. And now demons were coming out and attacking people. And it was kind of... As they do, exactly. Yeah. I don't want to be prejudiced towards demons, but they are, you know...
Demons.
They do that stuff, you know?
If there are any people to be prejudiced against, it's probably demons.
Demons, Lords of Darkness, General Terrors of the Night,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was cool because it took a big concept like war and it boiled it right down to a small concept like the human impact of war. And it wasn't trying to analog anything in particular. It was just trying to deal with that theme, you know? And I think there is an idea in D&D called power creep, which is as your characters get more and more powerful, being able to challenge them becomes a challenge because they're just
bigger bad guy, right?
Bigger bad guy. So like, if you're level 20, even a lich, which is like the most powerful undead creature in the entire game, isn't really a problem for you anymore. So you really have to open up the stakes, and that was a big problem that I had. My first campaign was like, you're dealing with the end of the world. So then by the time the second part of that campaign came along, it's like, oh, you're dealing with the end of the world again. And it gets a bit boring.
The stakes are a bit...
They level
not
off,
as dramatic.
So like, have you, not as a DM, but as a player, have you ever encountered stuff that you thought like, this is just poorly written, man?
Hello. Put the mic down. We have a sugar daddy radio walking into the radio station. A regular guest. I think since we're shorter on time, let's just move on.
Yeah, sure.
What were we talking about? What was the topic?
Writing for...
Yes, my apologies. Yes.
Oh, have I ever found something that was just terribly written?
The poorly written stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's been a couple
shame him and name him.
Yeah, shame him.
I can't actually think of specific examples right now, but I can think of like things to avoid in general when it comes to bad writing. One thing is like you always want to make a payoff feel deserved. You always want to make it feel if the players or if anyone feels like you're just giving them a satisfactory ending to something, they're just not going to value it at all. And actually, honestly, that's kind of my biggest problem with media. And it's something that I see a lot nowadays, where people kind of they have an ending and they have a start. They have like a premise, which is your start, and then they have the ending, which is like probably for a lot of people is a very emotional scene that they imagine playing out. Yeah. And then they don't really care how they get there. And and you see it a lot now, even in just modern media.
That's a shame.
With the kind of shovelware sort of media landscape that we live in, where stuff just has to get churned out because quotas need to be met and all that kind of stuff. There's very simple stories that you can follow, and you don't have to tell an original story.
No,
you can tell a really, really cliche story. And it's the journey that you get through that story. Like, it's the way that you navigate through that story that people really like.
I have two questions. Firstly, about trying to people's own stories as the players. How often do you work with original player backstories, like in Pub Heroes? Do people bring their own backstories to these campaigns?
Some people have like lore about their own characters. We can't really work in backstories, unfortunately. It is something we've been toying around with, though. We do have a level up system where you can level up as a player and you get access to like better characters. It's more just to make sure that when you get to the higher level characters that you know what you're doing.
Sure.
But I mean, there has to be something there where we can just any kind of. Maybe you can register as a member and you can write stuff about your character and stuff like that. It would be really cool. And my own personal games, character backstories are like the thing that I value the most. I sent my players 100 questionnaire the last time we started playing to fill out to be like, make sure your character's fleshed out.
Yeah.
It feels like just some type of homework stuff, you know?
Like, it does.
Or like, you know, whatever stuff you buy online, please fill in this questionnaire about the experience you've had with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not that much. They didn't have to do every question. Like, I think 14 of them were mandatory, and I wasn't allowed to play until I finished those 14 questions. But, you know, there's some leniency. It was mainly just because I want to give you an experience. I want your character to feel like they already live in the world, like they're a real part of the world. I want them to then affect the world in some way, and then after the game is over, I want them to feel you to feel like that world remembers your character after you're gone.
That's nice, yeah.
And even if we never pick up that setting again, those effects will have ramifications that just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And the only real way to do that is to have a very fleshed out character going into it. So I ask things like, what would you do if you weren't an adventurer? What would your life be like if the inciting incident that made you become an adventurer never happened? What would be the criteria from which you would retire your character? Like, is there an end point to this character? Because your character doesn't have to stay till the very end of when we stop playing. Maybe your character has a very specific goal and they want to do that. They want to complete that goal. And when they do, there isn't really any reason for them to continue partying with these people anymore and to continue on what they're doing. Now they want to live a happy life, you know? And I think having those ideas, it's having them in your head. You don't have to like constantly pore over your sheets, but having them in your head will always affect the way your character makes choices. If your character has to find out who killed their father and has to avenge them, maybe they won't always try to save people because they're like, well, if I die, I won't be able to find the answer to this question, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And you want your character, like when you're starting out, it's easier if all your characters are heroes because that means every single problem you put in front of them, they're pretty much going to go and try to solve. It gets a little bit more complicated, but also more interesting when your characters are a little bit more morally ambiguous because then they don't always make the best choices, and that makes a better story.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So a big part is we got stuff dropping in the studio left and right.
Somebody got a paladin in here.
We got a sign falling.
So a big part of it is really just dealing with motivations and different dynamic characters. Right?
Motivations is the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
Your character motivations will influence their actions all the time.
That's great. Yeah. Totally
Awesome stuff.
tangent. What did you think of the Dungeons and Dragons movie?
I actually haven't seen it. No, yeah.
Well, I thought it was good.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I was also pleasantly
I
surprised
enjoyed
by
it. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I was in the cinema.
Is it still in cinemas?
No.
Definitely not.
No, I don't remember when it came out. But it was like last year, right? 2023.
Yeah.
I think it was just last year.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch it from a very legal source at some point.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Legally
Absolutely.
stream it. Yes,
But
about like sort of D&D in media. I mean, do you have any general thoughts about how? I mean, back in the 80s when D&D came out, right?
70s, 80s. Yeah.
70s. Yes, my apologies. I mean, it was kind of linked maybe to like the satanic panic type of thing, where D&D was demonic and whatever. And obviously, that's changed over the last year. I mean, you got things like Stranger Things and a bunch of podcasts like Critical Role or Dungeons and Daddies, and now big movies, right? How do you feel about like why do you think D&D has changed so much?
Well, I mean, obviously the satanic panic has gone away, which is maybe not
No, it
actually good for
hasn't.
us.
Running the city rampant.
We should bring it back. Oh yeah.
If you met some of the goofy people I've met in D&D, you would not think that they were Satan worshippers. They're the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I don't know why it kicked off again. It's definitely Stranger Things was a big one, and I think before that, even The Big Bang Theory. As much as I hate to admit it,
True.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's actually why I wanted to start playing D&D.
Fair enough,
As cringy
man.
as that is.
You all have your
that's
starts.
that's like the weird thing. Dungeons and Dragons is still quite seen as the nerdy stuff
sure.
and everything.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it will ever come out of that subgenre ideal or like the stereotype of it?
Yeah.
I think it kind of already has. Like,
think so?
you
Yeah.
see,
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
like even like there's Instagram influencers who are all their content is focused on Dungeons and Dragons. You know, it's a huge industry, and it's a huge. I mean, Baldur's Gate won Game of the Year.
It was
last year.
massive. That's
It was
true.
massive.
It was true.
Yeah, I don't think that it's ever going to stop being a nerdy thing. I think being a nerd is cool now.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
it. Yeah. Where it's it's still nerdy, but like being nerdy is like
being nerdy
accepted.
is cool. Yeah.
I will
that's
say
the
though,
thing.
I don't think it should ever stop anyone from trying it. Especially Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition is
just do it.
Yeah.
just do exactly, and don't. The only thing that can really happen is if you're afraid of looking a bit silly. That's what I think is a lot of people's fear
Fair.
about the game.
Yeah, but that's life.
That is life, yeah.
Exactly.
But once you get past that, there's so much there.
Yeah. I mean, we have very little time left, but I just wanted to touch on something maybe Sesko wanted to talk about.
Oh, sure.
About how
Touch things.
what do you think is the benefit of playing D&D?
There's so many benefits.
It's fun,
In
first
brief.
of all.
It is fun, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely fun. I mean, it's an incredibly social experience. I have friends back in Ireland. We have literally played D&D every single week since I moved here.
Amazing.
Like 5 years or something of just playing online.
It keeps you together.
Keeps us together, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, we play every single week. We swap around DMs. We're in the middle of my campaign at the moment, and then after that we'll probably play my friend Jack's campaign.
Lovely.
Which is nice because then I get to play a character.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, I don't know. That's one side of it. We've been looking into other things. We've done a couple of like team building workshops for companies. Where people come, and again, I think it comes back to what I was saying before about being silly. I think that's the idea behind it. It's the best icebreaker ever because by the end of it, everyone is comfortable with each other. You've seen them at their silliest. You've seen them at their most sort of over the top and flamboyant, and you'll probably still have coffee with them the next day.
Yeah. Is that something Pub Heroes is pursuing, like the sort of application in workspaces or for education or something?
Absolutely, yeah. We do custom made sessions for people, and we also do other sort of packages where people can just pick adventures that we've already had.
Amazing.
We try to link it to the people that we're going towards.
Yeah.
Our last client was Easy Toys, so we went to their headquarters and we played D&D with them.
That's like
awesome.
role-playing. Like
Role-playing to the next level, yeah.
Role-playing from two different types of role-playing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That sounds
Actually,
fun, though.
Funnily enough, the one thing they asked us to do was please like no innuendos or anything like
Okay.
that. They wanted to just keep it very D&D and straight, and we were like, cool, that sounds good to us.
Fair enough.
That is awesome. We're in our last minute of
Yeah.
the show.
Daniel Devoy.
Flies.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's you. Any last thing you'd like to say? Any plugs?
Any plugs? Come
Your
to
own
Pub
band.
Heroes.
Your band.
Real quick.
Oh yeah, I do also play in a band down the Middlemen. We have many things happening. The biggest of which is we're in the Crota Price Van Nederlands.
Yes.
You can vote for us starting on the 18th of March.
Yeah.
And if you want to come see us, we're also playing with FM, yes, in Cornell on the 23rd of April, I believe.
Yeah.
It might be the wrong date. I only got the gig today. Check our Instagram for more information.
Great.
Follow
Yeah.
Dan in the Middleman, people. This has been Happy Hour FM.
Follow our Instagram at Happy Hour FM. Thank you for listening. Groningen.
Thank you
Have
so
a good
much.
night.
See ya.
Het geluid van Groningen.